Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and obviously in the Pokemon TCG we are currently in the Mega era. This of course features the Mega Evolutions, as in the three prize Pokemon that are, I was going to say the center of the set or the game. That's not really true, but they obviously are a big thing in the game. No pun intended there. On top of that, though, it obviously has featured a bunch of cards as well. That being said, I think myself as well as a lot of other people have kind of criticized it for being a little weak. Specifically, the cards in the sets are a little weaker. Then also the sets are smaller, which is also contributing to it in terms of they're smaller in terms of adding new cards. Today, though, we're going to be going over the top 10 best new cards from the Mega era. As I said, new cards, so I'm going to quickly clarify what doesn't count or qualify for this list here for your, to make sure you know what you're expecting. So a card that would count, or I guess a card that wouldn't count, that it would be printed in these sets, because obviously the only cards that count are going to be printed in these sets. But for example, Mega Evolution, I'm not really going to count this. This is going to be like Boss's Orders. Boss's Orders was reprinted in Mega Evolution with a new regulation mark. So I'm going to quickly talk about these cards that were printed with a new regulation mark that would have presumably made the list, but not going to dive too much into those. So Boss Orders isn't making it into the full list there. Then if we look at Ascended Heroes is weird. So the Mega Era started halfway through the year. Ascended Heroes was, well, the Japanese set was at the end of the year. The Japanese set was, well, there's the Star Dex 100 Battle Collection or whatever, but there was also the set which featured, here it is, Mega Dream EX, which like featured some cards. For example, Lunatone EX, which I would not say counts, would not say would count there. And then when you look at actual good cards, you might see, for example, I was gonna say Ultra Ball, but that's a little different there. I'm trying to find a card that's actually good enough. Here we go, Buddy Buddy Poffin, obviously a very good card that I would not say counts in Mega Evolution because it, wasn't printed, for example, with the I regulation mark there. Again, that doesn't matter too much. Even if those cards would count for the like small list at the beginning, they don't count for the full thing. So let's just hop right into that list of, I guess, quote, honorable mentions because they don't quite qualify. That's going to be Energy Switch, which is like okay. I imagine Energy Switch would have made it onto the list. It's a bit of a hard card to rank, in my opinion. I guess tell me in the comment section how good you think this card is. I don't know. I don't play it too much, but I play it some, certainly. It's very unique in what it does and can be really good, but also can be kind of useless and isn't really the centerpiece of any deck, I don't think. Let me see what's it played in. Yeah, none of these decks it's like super important, and I wouldn't say. There certainly is nice and very important at times. Then we have Judge. Again, these cards aren't in any particular order here, these first five. Judge is a good supporter. I actually almost forgot about this one. This one got reprinted in perfect order there. This one, maybe it should count. It's kind of weird. I guess it like didn't rotate, but it would have rotated if it wasn't reprinted, but again, I'm not counting it here. It's pretty good. Would end up somewhere probably in the middle of the list there. I mean, it's not an amazing card, but it's pretty good. Ultra Ball would have ended up on this list here. It is very good. It's probably or it might be the sixth best card in the game, maybe five, somewhere in that range. And it's good, right? Somewhere in like 5 through 7, I'd say, something like that. So Ultra Ball is quite good. And yeah, I mean, again, not fully qualifying there. Then we have Rare Candy. Rare Candy is also another card that's really hard to rank. I'd also love to hear people's thoughts in the comment section, how good you think Rare Candy is. There are some cards that kind of compete with it, but not that much. Kind of like Energy Switch there, which is a pretty unique card, a pretty powerful card, but a pretty specialized card, though. I would say it's probably top 10. Again, just a super hard card to rank there, though. Then we have a card that would definitely have been on this list, which is Boss's Orders, which then got reprinted in Mega Evolution here. This card's obviously very good. Probably, in my opinion, the third, fourth best card in the game, something like that. Could even see it as high. I mean, certainly if you want to say it's the best card in the game, I'm not going to say that's a crazy take at all. That's completely fair there. Anyways, those 5 cards are pretty good. Presumably would have made the list there, but don't really count. In some ways, that's not super fair to this era if you're trying to like actually talk about exactly how good it is, if we're just like discounting some of the best cards because they are reprints. But in terms of, I mean, they didn't add stuff to the game that's new, so I'm not counting it here, but again, if you want to, that is fine as well. But then we have the actual top 10 here. Moving on to card number 10. Let me make sure I counted right. Yes, I did. So we got Dawn here. Dawn is a supporter card. Honestly, a card I don't play with too much, but it definitely is a decent supporter. I'd say it's that, like, tier 2-ish supporter. letting you get a basic at stage 1 and stage 2 on a supporter here into your hand. This is useful, obviously, in a deck that's playing a stage 2. You can see it with Dragapult EX, being able to search out Dragapult EX as your stage 2. We also see it with like Blaziken or Dusknoir within Dragapult potentially there. Then in terms of the stage 1, you're going to have Drakeloak, which is pretty good. And then I've talked about this card a bunch, but you have basics in like any deck. Also, there are grass decks which play stage 2s. There are also decks that don't really play stage 2s very much, that play Dawn sometimes as well. It's just a generally, I'd say, decent Pokemon search, or I guess good Pokemon search supporter, though generally Pokemon search supporters are, kind of mad. You look at Brock Scouting and Hilda, which I would say are in a pretty similar category. Except with Cyrano, that one's, I'd say, I mean, it definitely plays differently in my opinion, but that's more so the decks it's in. But ultimately, Dawn is a decent supporter. It's actually the best card, I'm pretty sure, from Phantasmal Flames. I was like kind of looking through. Phantasmal Flames is quite bad, I'm not going to lie. I don't think there are any cards that are particularly good from it. I mean, Dawn is in the top 10 here, but it was actually the last card I added because, as I said, I don't really play with it too much. I kind of forgot about it, but also it's not super powerful. I could see it moving a few slots up on this list because it is a bit more versatile than some of the cards above it, but it's also not, I wouldn't say it's super powerful or like impactful on the metagame, but it is a decent card here. Then we have the 9th best card from the Mega era, which is Alakazam. Alakazam is definitely a card that I underrated some at first. I guess I will mention Kadabra's kind of grouped in here. I didn't really think that through entirely, and I didn't really feel like, you could kind of separate them or group them together. Obviously, they are played together there, and Kadabra helps, but obviously Alakazam is the attacker and also has, I guess, an objectively better ability. Obviously, it's on a higher stage there. But anyway, Psychic Draw, when you play, you get to draw a couple of cards, or you get to draw 3 cards there. And then Powerful Hand is essentially 20 for each card in your hand. It is damage counters instead of damage, which is for the most part going to be worse because it can be stopped by some things. But it's not like the worst thing in the world for you there. You're going to run into Mist Energy or whatever at points, but it's not going to be all that often, I wouldn't say, though. Something you do want to watch out for there. Maybe play some Enhanced Hammers. But anyways, Alakazam here is a pretty powerful attacker. It's in the name, and it's true. Ultimately, able to do a lot of damage for only, or quote damage, for a lot of, you are getting a lot of cards in your hand. You need to commit that, but there's also less counterplay post-rotation. This isn't, I guess, just post-rotation. I suppose this is more of these cards in their lifetime in Standard, maybe. I wouldn't say there's any card on this list that has gone drastically up or down since this came out, and between when it came out and now. But Alakazam, I guess, actually probably is the one that rose the most. And yeah, it's doing anywhere between decent and really, really amazing damage for just 1 energy on a single prizer. Obviously, some single prizers can struggle against Dragapult. There is some counterplay there. Actually, Battle Cage, I will say, is not on this list. Battle Cage is, I guess, a good card, but it's a counter card. What it counters is good, but doesn't completely counter it, so that's why that's not here. There's also, there are a handful of cards in Alakazam from the Mega era, some which made it, some which didn't make it. But ultimately, Alakazam really is the driving factor there, and is a really powerful and pretty fun card and deck as well there. Not super, super crazy good, but it's pretty good. Then we have the next card here, which is Force of Vitality. This is also a card that's kind of hard to rank. I will say Meganium is not on this list. Originally, it was the number 10 card, I think. It's not here, though. Ultimately, Force of Vitality mostly sees play with Meganium. I'm trying to think of other decks that, I guess Crustle can play. Apparently, Festive Lead. I've not actually seen Festive Lead play it, really. And then, yes, Cynthia's. So there are a few decks that can play Force Vitality that aren't Meganium, but for the most part, they are. And Force Vitality, lets you evolve your grass Pokemon instantly, except for not instantly on turn 1. So this card is good for, doing the stuff that kind of Rare Candy kind of does there. It requires you to have the Pokemon in your hand. All the Pokemon, the whole line there to, or I guess like the evolutions there, you need the basic in play, and then you can go. You go basic stage 1, stage 2, so theoretically you could have the basic, and then you could have the Force of Vitality, and then you could discard your hand and draw a bunch of cards and get the stage 1, then discard your hand and draw a bunch of cards and get the stage 2. That's different than Rare Candy, requiring you to have the stage 2 and the Rare Candy in your hand at the same time. Ultimately, the cards I'd say are kind of similar, and ranking, as I said, ranking Rare Candy is hard. Ranking this card is also hard because it obviously is type specific. That type is decent. Certainly, as I said, it mainly works with 1 card Meganium, which is pretty good. It's hard to say which card is the driving factor there. I'd say it's close, but Force of Vitality is nice, and potentially a card that could be. I mean, I think people play Expanded. I don't really play much Expanded, but is Force of Vitality good and Expanded? I don't really know. I assume it's all right. I haven't been paying a ton of close attention though. Obviously, this card, is from Mega Evolution base set, which isn't. I mean, it's the oldest set here, but Force of Vitality is definitely a card that is very good, right? It's good. It allows you to, I guess, come back into games as well in a way that Rare Candy can't do as well. Ultimately, it's quite good. It's not broken, but it's very good. Then we have the next card here. This might be, I don't know if controversial is quite the right word, but I imagine there are some people who say this is probably too high, but I have Premium Power Pro. This isn't really speculative. It's not like every card here is ranked based on exactly how well it's performed, as in how many decks it's like been played in one with, or played with in one in. I think I switched that. I don't know, but ultimately, this sees play in a bunch of fighting decks. It's not the driving force there. In some ways, I'd say it's disappointed a little bit. And I just realized I forgot a card, which I will add now. So we actually have 11. I thought I was going to forget a card. Anyways, we will get to that. I'll just group it in with another one. It's kind of cheating. But anyways, Premium Power Pro is very good. And it allows you to do extra damage with fighting Pokemon. Extra damage is good. Yeah, I don't know. There's not too much to analyze here. If you want to really get into it, it's like not the most consistent card, but 30 extra damage is pretty nice. As I said, when this card was announced and revealed, it's similar to some older cards, and those older cards were very good. And it's the same thing. There is some thing to be said about like power creep in this card being relatively weaker compared to those other cards, but it's still very, very good. We have the next card here, Telepathic Psych Energy. Telepathic Psych Energy is quite good. Moving into the, I guess, spot 7 here, because as I said, I forgot a card. Good thing I realized now as opposed to after the video. But anyways, Telepathic Psych Energy here is a card that allows you to search your deck for 2 basic Psychic Pokemon, put them onto your bench, then shuffle when you attach this from your hand to a Psychic Pokemon. This is probably the card that's the most, I don't know if speculative is, that's not quite the right word, but more so like it's a card that's good but doesn't really have the support it needs. But it's certainly seen play, right? Telepathic Psychic Energy is a card I've actually talked a lot about on the channel, especially compared to how much play it's seen. But it's seen play and it is good. It's supposed to see play in Alakazam and also those Clefairy EX box style decks there, and it's okay in those decks. Those decks are decent, certainly, and the card's also decent in those decks. I think if it really found a deck that just plays a ton of Psychic Pokemon, because both those decks don't play a ton of specifically Psychic Basic, so it's like it's okay, but it's not setting up your whole deck or anything like that. But if you had a deck like Gardevoir EX, which plays a bunch of Psychic Pokemon, obviously Gardevoir EX played basic Psychic Energy, so Telepathic Psychic Energy feels really clunky there in that regard. But if you had a deck where you had an attacker and a support Pokemon that was Psychic, then that'd be really good. And I also mentioned that actually in a video I recently made talking about what would happen if we got a Psychic Dreepy, so check that one out if you haven't. And also, I guess, subscribe so you don't miss me talking about other cards that this will work well with, because I think this is probably the card that is going to depend most on new cards coming out, because it hasn't reached its potential, though we've certainly seen it do some pretty good stuff here. Then we have the next card, which is Mega Kangaskhan EX. Mega Kangaskhan EX is also a really interesting one. This card allows you to draw 2 if it's in the active, only 1 run errant ability per turn. I kind of forget about that. I mean, I guess it is something that you would use. I don't play this card too much either. I've been playing more evolution decks than big basic decks, but it is a decent attacker, high HP, good ability. Ultimately, just a pretty solid all-around card. I've talked about this card a bunch on the channel as well. It's by far the best Mega. I was considering, I think the second best one is Mega Lopunny EX, maybe. There's Mega Lucario, which is decent, though that's supposed to carried by the cards around it. I don't know if carried, but certainly helped by them. And then there's Mega Absol EX, I guess. I don't think Mega Absol EX is that good of a card. It's definitely worse than Mega Kangaskhan EX, but I think it's a decent card, right? It's a fine card, but it's not amazing. And there's some other ones as well. Anyways, Mega Kangaskhan EX though is definitely, it might be the most powerful, and it's definitely the most versatile. So it's very good here, and the only one with legitimately good ability to set you up there. Then we have the next card, which is actually one I forgot, which is Fighting Gong. Just realized oops, that's not Fighting Gong. I just realized when recording this that I was missing something. I missed a card in the fighting package. The fighting package is very good, and fighting gong is also very good here. This allows you to find a basic fighting energy or a basic fighting Pokemon, reveal it, and putting it into your hand there. It's not the most interesting card. In fact, it might be the least interesting card on this list. Actually, it's not the least interesting card. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. As we get higher into the list, the cards get probably less interesting. They're just more universally good. But fighting gong is certainly very, I don't know if universally good is quite the right word here, because it's only good in fighting decks. But any fighting deck, this is decent and probably should be a 4 of, and pretty much all of them. Like I was playing some Cynthia's earlier, and I was like, yeah, this card's really good. But this card is good, not super game changing or deck changing, but certainly good. Its ceiling is fine, I guess. Its floor is really high though, so that's what makes this card really good. It's super consistent, helps out your deck. Probably going to be about as good as the other Pokemon search options, maybe a little weaker, but also adds energy search there. So pretty good. Obviously, again, for a fighting type deck, but good, simple, straightforward. But yeah, seen a lot of play and helped out fighting a bunch. Then we have the next card here, Meowth EX. Meowth EX has the ability Last is Catch, letting you search for a supporter on play. And yeah, I mean, it's just good. This card allows you to set up better in the early game and allows you to find like boss or whatever in the late game, or any other supporter that's good for you pretty much at any point in the game. Obviously, it's a once per game for Meowth thing. I guess it's technically not. You can discard it, or you can scoop it up. I guess that's probably not happening. But you could discard it with like Air Zero Underdepths, or I guess by discarding Air Zero Underdepths, or I guess losing a Terra as well. I haven't seen that one happen where someone's in their Meowth off of losing a Terra. But anyway. Actually, I have seen that. But anyways, you're gonna be able to clear your Meowth and reuse it potentially, but for the most part, it's kind of going to be a pretty big liability. It is currently the worst Pokemon to start in the game, but that's because it's also so good, and starting it means you lose it. So it's really good, right? Ultimately, there's not too much. I mean, there is stuff to say about it, as I said, but it's been said. A lot of it's already been said. A lot. This card is by far the best card to a perfect order. I guess with an asterisk on that one, which we'll get to. But yeah, it's very, very good, very, very powerful, and pretty versatile as well. We have the next card here, Lunatone. Lunatone, I don't know if I'm overrating. I feel like Lunatone's super good. Let's use this card. If you have a slot, can play a fighting energy, drop 3 cards. You can't use more than Lunacycle ability per turn. Doing an extra draw 3 is good, right? I mean, there's not too much more to say about it than that. It's not free. I mean, discarding the fighting isn't really that bad, but you do need an extra fighting in your hand, which is kind of the awkward part, where you just might not have it, right? So you just hit a hand without fighting energy, then it's going to be clunky. Obviously, fighting gong helps with this as well. Could see, honestly, even swapping those 2 cards. But I feel like Lunatone is very good. It's arguably the best draw Pokemon in the game right now, being a basic that draws 3 every turn potentially. Obviously, it needs another Pokemon there. The other Pokemon isn't really a liability, but isn't free to get out, and also it does some stuff, so I can attack some. It's okay, but it's not some crazy good Pokemon. Lunatone is pretty crazy good here, though. And then, obviously, you need the energy. As I said, not too big of a deal. There is some synergy by discarding the energy, but not necessarily. It depends exactly what you're playing. But very good, and definitely, I talked about Fighting Gong having a relatively mediocre ceiling. This card has definitely a higher ceiling, a bit of a lower floor, but a higher ceiling. Just a really, really good card that has really defined fighting, in my opinion. Then we move to the second card here. This is the one from, quote, Perfect Order, but it's from a set of heroes. And it's Pokepad, letting you search for any non-rulebox Pokemon, reveal it, put into your hand on an item. It is arguably the best item in the game right now. It is not the best card of the Mega Era, in my opinion, but if you want to say it is, I'm not going to sit here and argue too much with you. I certainly have some, I think, good arguments for the top card as to why I have it there. But, this is a card, I really think these 2 cards are just they're really amazing cards. You only see a few of these a year, right? And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing 2 in the first year of the Mega Era. And yeah, Pokepad is really amazing. Also, I guess I didn't say this, but I'm not including Chaos Rising. Special Red card would probably end up around 5 or something like that. It's decent, and nothing else from the set would make it in. But Pokepad is definitely a good card. It's not the most flashy card, but I think people like it from what I've heard. And I mean, people are playing it. I haven't heard any complaints about it. And it just get. Then we have the top card, though, which is Lilie's Determination. It's a supporter here from Mega Evolution, the base set there. When you shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 6, unless you have exactly 6 prize cards, which you have at the start of the game, then you draw 8 instead. And Shuffle Draw 6 is pretty decent. We saw Cynthia previously, which was Shuffle Draw 6, which was good. There were some differences that I'm not going to get into now, but Shuffle Draw 6 would have been fine if that was in the game. On top of this, it would still be see play. Potentially as a 4 of the UC decks with 4 Cynthia, 4 Lilies. And then also, Lose Determination says that you draw 6 for a bunch of the game, like at the beginning of the game. So, or Shuffle Draw 8 there when you got 6 prizes. It's not like broken, but it's really, it is really good, right? This is by far the best supporter, or by far the best draw supporter in the game. Boss Orders is a close card. I definitely would say Liz is better though, because it's more, I'd say more, a role that you're gonna want a bit more of in your deck there. And it's also by far the best card that does it. I guess Boss also is the best card that does what it does, but it's also like the only card that does what it does. So that's a little harder to rank, kind of like I was talking about with Candy and an Energy Switch and things like that. But no, this is a card type that we see a bunch of different cards like, including Dawn is kind of in a similar category, but this is like so much better than Dawn. Honestly, Lose Determination is just, it's so good. This card, I saw, and I think a lot of people saw, and like were like, this card is kind of nutty. Like this card is borderline broken, and I think it's been exactly as good as we've kind of all thought, and I'm certainly not going to complain about it. And with the rotation of a lot of the other top supporters with Perfect Order there, I think it's shown even more there. But anyways, tell me down below in the comment section what you think about these different cards. If you think I missed anything, as I said, I almost missed one, but I caught it at the last second. Also, anything you'd reorder that you think is like pretty egregious there. But I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe. Also, huge shout out to my YouTube members for supporting the channel. It really does help. I really do appreciate it. It's just I like that. Thank you very much. As I said, legitimately, I really do appreciate it. And you can get some stuff for being a YouTube member, but you can also you can get my. You can just support the channel by liking the videos, which does help it. You can also share. You can comment, of course. I love to see people's comments on their thoughts on the Pokemon TCG and video ideas as well. I certainly would not mind any of those, as long as they're good or okay. Hopefully at least okay, surely, right? And then also liking all that good stuff. But I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.